All right, good morning, Bemidji State University. I'm Andy Bartlett. I'm Executive Director of Communications and Marketing, and welcome to the second episode of What's New BSU. Last week's episode was really fantastic. If you were here for the first show, welcome back. I've got more great stuff for everybody this week. And if that's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you're about to see. So let's talk about ratings. I messed up the fact staff right away last week and said that the network had bumped us up because of our ratings. And last week we peaked at about 114 viewers during the live show. And despite the technical issues we had, about 80 more people watched the replay on Vimeo throughout the week. So considering that we have about 650 employees at BSU, I thought that was pretty good. So thank you. I didn't really have any expectations for how this show would go. So for the first episode to have been that successful and for it to be something that people obviously enjoyed makes me super happy. So thanks to all of you for supporting this idea by being here. I realized this week that one of the things that COVID-19 cost us on campus is the Midwinter Interlude, the faculty and staff art show. I know how hard Deb Kruger worked to put that show on for the campus every spring while she was here, and I'm sure that if she were still working here, she'd be pretty crushed that the virus played a role in taking the show away from us. And really, her goal for the Midwinter Interlude is the same goal that I have for this show. I started it because I wanted campus to have something fun to look forward to every week, and I wanted a way for all of us to learn something about our friends and colleagues that we may not have known before. We have really, really incredibly talented people here at this university, and they're talented in ways that go beyond what they're able to show in their jobs. And now that we're all hiding away in our own special little corners at home, I want to do something that I can help shine a spotlight on those people and on their talents. And honestly, I could not do this show without all of you. Everything I've been able to do so far has been because people have been incredibly generous and creative with the things that they have submitted. You've all played along and submitted the things that have been featured in this show so far, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you. Let's get started with today's show. For our first segment, let's head to the Office of Admissions and have Maddie Pelland introduce us to her dog, Berk. So that's Berk. I got a chance to meet Berk right after Maddie got him, and he's such a fun little dog. So Maddie, thank you very much for sharing him with us today. Now it's time for us to take another visit to the lonely corners of our houses that we've got set up for our new offices. So for this week's first installment of Visit My Office, let's meet men's golf coach Ekron Miller.
Hey everybody, Ekron Miller here, men's golf coach at Bemidji State. I wanted to give you a little tour of my home office here in the basement. So starting with place that you can get a workout as well. Got the trainer set up. Yeah, there we go. And they say don't quit your day job, so we've got our day job background here of teaching Spanish. Got the maps and everything, and you got to take breaks once in a while and hit a couple putts. So this is known as the putting room. Oh yeah, there's all our online desk. I need a little more decoration in the room, but it's okay. And other project we're working on, time of reflection while we work at home. Of course, we got a little water in the basement. That's part of life. We're restoring trophies here from men's golf years past. So we've already got 4 finished right here. And working on a few more. So we've got a lot of things planned, and that's working from home for this week.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ekron, for submitting that for us. I was not surprised to see that you've got a putting green in your office, but I was surprised that you missed your putt. So I'm hoping that you're taking advantage of your time at home to work on your short game. So next, on this week's episode of What's New BSU, we're going to find out what we're streaming while we have ourselves muted in our 17th Zoom meeting of the week. This week's episode features our good friends at the Office of Records and Registration. Robin Gullickson is watching This Is Us, which my wife and 2 of my girls are completely in love with, and they watch this show religiously too. And Robin is also watching A Million Little Pieces. Yes. Julie Herr is watching Little Fires Everywhere. And seriously, if you're watching this show, how about the cliffhanger at the end of this week's? I did not see that twist coming. This has been such a good show. My wife and I love it. Julie is also watching A Million Little Things, which I've discovered is not A Million Little Pieces. So I'm going to go start working on a show called A Million Little Pieces of Things. Justine Anderson is watching Ozark on the recommendation of a friend. And you can't go wrong with Jason Bateman. I watched him in the first couple of episodes of HBO's The Outsider, which started in January. He started the first couple of episodes of that series, and he also directed the first few episodes. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, that show also is so good. Bev Hodgson has got another vote for the Tiger King. She says she wants to see what the fuss is all about, and my only knowledge of this show continues to be memes on Facebook, which are pretty good. And finally, Kim Gorno says she is rewatching Person of Interest. So thanks to the Records Office for playing along with this week's episode of What I'm Watching. So some of you may know this, but our Information Technology Services team has done an absolutely incredible job over the last 3 weeks. And I wanted to have a chance to use the show to feature some of the work that they've done. And so I thought for this second episode, this would be a good opportunity for everyone to meet my new Zoom friend, Chief Information Officer, Shari Lawlor. All right. Good morning, Shari. So thanks for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So for those that are in the audience who didn't get a chance to meet you during your in-person interviews about a month or so ago, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I came to BSU and NTC from the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks. I worked there for about 6.5 years in a variety of different technology director positions, both at the central IT and at some decentralized locations. Prior to that, I worked for the city of Grand Forks for 16 years. I started at the help desk there and worked a lot of different positions in IT, including desktop support, programmer, and project manager. And before that, I was in the Marine Corps for 7 years. I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school and served as a supply and logistics clerk. When I got out of the Marine Corps, when I started working at the other positions, I also worked on my education. So I got an associate's degree in computer programming from Minnesota State Community and Technical College. And then I got a bachelor's degree in management information systems from Park University. I also got my MBA from Park University, and I'm currently working on my PhD in higher education at UND. I was hoping to graduate in May, but all of this kind of derailed that a little bit. So shooting for August now, since I missed some pretty important deadlines. So.
All right. So it seems like ancient history at this point, but it was just March the 12th that the system office announced that we were extending spring break by, at that time, 1 week. And your first day on the job at BSU was supposed to be Monday the 16th. But you were actually here working full-time on Friday the 13th, which in hindsight seems incredibly appropriate. So what was that first weekend like for you when you were sort of thrust into the middle of all this craziness and weren't even officially working here yet?
Well, it was a little crazy. You're right. And Friday the 13th does seem like an appropriate time for that to have started. You know, I actually had been exchanging some emails with some people in IT as well as some cabinet members. So I was a little familiar with everyone, but yeah, I got to jump in right away Friday evening, starting with some Zoom meetings with cabinet members. Saturday morning, I was literally trying to physically move to Bemidji. So I was trying to answer emails on my phone while I was waiting for the moving truck and while my husband was driving. So it was a lot of fun. Then I moved into the apartment. My husband and family went back to Grand Forks because they're still working there. And I hung up this one clock that you see behind me. That is the only thing I have on my walls in this whole apartment because we've been a little busy, but it was crazy. It hasn't settled down yet, but I'm hopeful for the next couple of weeks.
All right, good. So I mentioned in the intro that IT has done a tremendous amount of work during this whole mess over the last couple of weeks. I wanted to give you just, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes maybe to give us a recap of some of the kinds of things that IT has been doing, because it really has been a remarkable volume of work. And the things that your new team have done to sort of pull together and support students and employees alike during this crisis has been really remarkable to see. So maybe just tell us a little bit about what all IT has managed to do during this.
Yeah, and you're right. It's been a huge lift. When you think about it, the first week we were trying to transition. You know, I think there's over 800 employees at BSU and NTC, so trying to transition them to remote work. We had to prepare a lot of laptops and equipment. Phones themselves were a huge issue. We came up with several different solutions for people. They found a way to make VoIP phones work at home, so people were able to take their office phones with them and keep their office numbers and get that set up. We also tried to order cell phones and hotspots for people. Unfortunately, everyone in the state and country was doing the same thing. So we had a lot of back orders, but we tried to get that going. We came up with a Google Voice solution to make soft phones available on people's laptops and to also mask the numbers they were calling out from so it wasn't showing their own personal cell phone numbers. We increased the VPN licensing so that way people could access campus resources from home. I think we went up to 250 licenses so we could have several people on at the same time. We created over 20 new knowledge base articles that were really centered around how people could work remotely and the technologies that they would need to be able to use to do so. And then we also looked at delaying password expirations. That way people didn't have to try and deal with that while they're still trying to learn how to work remotely. And that was all just in the first week. Then the next week we started really ramping up for when students started to complete their courses online. So we sent out well, actually I shouldn't say we, Andy, your department really helped with sending out that student technology survey so that we could try and assess the needs that students were going to have as they made this transition. And then we started following up with them on all of that. We worked with vendors to try and make lab software available offline or outside of the campus so that they could get them online and through the cloud. We got the Adobe Creative Suite up and going for students, as well as SPSS. We extended our help desk hours last week and this week to try and give people additional time to call in if they needed to call in the evenings. We updated our website with that information, as well as a lot of different resources that the team has been compiling for students who maybe don't have wireless options. You know, there are a lot of vendors out there that are doing things for students in higher education, trying to make resources available for them. So we were trying to compile that list and get all of that on the IT website. We set up the Decker Hall Labs so that students that needed to come in and use specialty software or needed computers to use overall had a place to go, and we basically set that up so that it was set up appropriately for social distancing, removing keyboards and mice between computers to keep people separated, and staffed it so that all the computers were getting cleaned between uses. And then we extended the wireless to the parking lot in the AIRC, really so that those students that needed wireless access and didn't have it maybe at home had a place to go and get it. If they did not want to go in Decker Hall and be around other people, they could sit in their car and the wireless would extend out to them and they could use it there. Again, I just can't stress enough how amazing the IT team here at BSC and BSU and NTC is. The lift that they did in this short amount of time, it's really been nothing short of amazing. And I've been so impressed and so happy to have such a great team of people to work with since I got here.
Well, I know part of what has happened, and I'm just familiar with this because I also work with Roseanne, it's just I know that some people's responsibilities have been shifted around, and I know that she's got some additional responsibilities now. So what kinds of things did you have to do to kind of readjust what your team's jobs have been to sort of put them in the places that they needed to be to get all of this work done?
Well, no, that's a great question. You know, and you're right. There's some things that people were doing that maybe we weren't going to have to work on anymore. So we've been really not necessarily looking at what people's job titles are, but trying to look at what their capabilities are and where our needs are, and trying to better match that. So you're right. You know, we shifted Roseanne's duties some to help her try and organize and coordinate everything that we have going on. We had people, a lot of different people that were chipping in, trying to prepare all of these laptops. And, you know, that's not necessarily their primary duty, but they have the capabilities and we had the need. So just trying to get everyone on the same page, having lots of meetings and talking with everyone so we're all working towards those same goals, and kind of looking at how we can best redeploy people. And we're hoping as things settle down, then we can start working on some different projects and stuff too that maybe we wouldn't have had time for before.
Ah, that's perfect. It's been really fun and exciting to see everything that you guys have had to deal with. And because you needed something else, on March 20th, our voicemail server crashed. So talk through a little bit about what it was like to deal with an actual IT emergency in the midst of everything else that was going on.
Yeah, we didn't have enough going on. So that was just a lot of fun. Yeah, the voicemail server crashed Friday evening, pretty late in the evening. So basically what that meant was that our phones would just keep ringing and voicemail would never pick up. So we had to start coordinating with different departments across campus. Okay, how are we going to handle this? And so we forwarded some phones. We had Distance Minnesota step up, and we were able to roll admissions phones over to them so that they could answer calls as they were coming in, so calls didn't go unanswered. And we got everything coordinated Friday night, Saturday morning, and I was just amazed at how responsive departments across campus were in getting this taken care of. Again, you don't always see that, especially on a Friday night, Saturday morning, but people were really quick to get a solution in place.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we've got about 2 minutes left here for this. I guess as you think about what has happened over the last week and what your first couple of weeks at BSU have been like, is there anything that you could point to that maybe has gone better than you had expected it to, or just had worked out better than you could have hoped as you start really trying to pull ideas out of the sky just to see what works in a situation like this? What has gone really well?
You know, actually, the whole thing, it's such a daunting task to think that we needed to make that type of switch in that short a timeline. And the fact that they were able to get everyone working remotely and get everything so that the students have it in place to complete their courses is amazing on its own. So I was really impressed because I didn't know how we were going to get there. But you're right, it's times like these people come up with creative ideas. And one of the ones that we're working on now that I think is really impressive is looking at a way to do our computer labs remotely so that students don't necessarily have to step on campus to be able to use those lab resources. And, you know, we had a group of people working on that, and they're like 99% there. And that in itself is just amazing. So yeah, so just seeing everyone step up and what they've been able to accomplish, it's been pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. So that's all the time that I've got for you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to be interested to talk to you and see how bored you are when the time comes that we have a normal week, you know, whatever normal happens to look like. So thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
All right. All right. So that's Shari Lawlor, our new Chief Information Officer, everybody, and she and her team really have done a fantastic job. So next up on What's New at BSU, we're going to take another look inside somebody's home office, and this is Lisa Hofstad from the BSU Foundation.
Hello, it's Lisa Hofstad with the BSU Alumni Foundation. Andy asked me to give a little tour of my workspace, which is in the basement in our spare bedroom slash storage room slash exercise room slash game, as in wild game room. So yeah, it's a little interesting. We have 2 adults working from home as well as 3 kids that are doing distance learning. So we're all kind of in a corner. This is my workspace. I have a handy dandy little card table that works pretty well. Got my setup. It seems to work all right. The only problem we've had, or that I've had, is that it was pointed out to me after I'd already participated in several Zoom meetings that when I'm on my computer in a Zoom meeting, I tend to look like I have horns when I line up just right with the horns behind me. So it was nice of somebody to screenshot this and point it out, but now I have to just be careful when I'm in a Zoom meeting that I try to adjust that so it doesn't look like I do have horns coming out of my head. So I guess that's my workspace. I hope all are doing well at BSU and hope to see you all soon. Bye.
All right, thanks a lot, Lisa. Actually, my favorite part about that video is the fact that she wasn't wearing shoes. That just kind of shows how chill we are all in our own little home spaces right now. All right, so the last couple of minutes before we wrap up this week's show, I've got a couple of things to share with everybody. The first is something coming up in the community that could use our help. The United Way is coordinating volunteer opportunities all over town right now. The people that typically volunteer for these opportunities tend to be older people or people who are susceptible to the COVID-19 virus. And so volunteers aren't as readily available as they have been. So on April the 15th, the United Way is looking for help with Ruby's Pantry. They need 50 volunteers at the Sanford Center between 2:30 and 5:30 p.m. And they are looking for people to help pack boxed meals and load them onto vehicles for delivery to people in town who need them. They're working really hard to make sure that the 50 people that are doing this work are all adhering to social distancing guidelines and are working in an environment that is safe as possible. But they really need 50 people to help them get these meals packed and loaded up for delivery to people here in town. BSU, I know that we have the ability to supply the volunteers that the United Way needs for this. Between our employees and our students, I know that we can get 50 people who can show up between 2:30 and 5:30 on the 15th to do this. For more information, take a look at the Community Engagement Council's website. It's on the Office of the President's page. And there's a new page called Engagement Opportunities that's highlighted there on the left, and you'll find some information about the Ruby's Pantry opportunity there. And at the bottom, Ruby's Pantry wants everyone who is going to volunteer for this opportunity to fill out an online form, and this is a corporate requirement for them so they can keep track of their volunteers. So if you're interested in doing this, if you have students who are interested in doing this, who have the time in their schedules to help out with this, I would encourage all of us to take a look at this and see what we can do to help. So 50 volunteers by April the 8th. Ruby's Pantry would like to know who is going to be volunteering by the 8th so that they can begin reaching out to people and coordinating. So thank you very much for considering that opportunity. Now, since this show has been going so well, I wanted to get help from the audience to gather content for future episodes. So two things that I want to talk about next week are #ActiveApril and for people to talk about their hobbies. The Living Well, Working Well Committee at BSU is hoping that employees and students at BSU will be up for a challenge similar to 30 days of biking. But instead of doing bike riding, they're wanting people just to engage in some sort of physical activity every day in April. And I'm already 3 days behind, and I hope you're all doing better than me. They would like you to share pictures of whatever outdoor activities you're doing on social media using the #ActiveApril. And if you also use the #OneBemidjiState that we talked about at the end of last week's episode, we will see those photos and can use them on next week's show. I also want to feature hobbies that people are doing. I want to know about the creative activities that are keeping your mind sharp while we're doing this whole Stay Home Minnesota thing. If you're drawing or painting, or if you're cross-stitching or working on a quilt or building models or designing a house or playing Dungeons and Dragons, just shoot me a video or shoot me a photo and tell me about it. I would love to feature some of those kinds of things on next week's episode. So you've seen two of these now and you kind of have some idea of what this is all about. So let your friends know that I'm looking for content for the show and have them send me things. The last thing that I wanted to share with everybody this week is a really good story that came in after last week's episode from Kathy O'Brien, and it really hammers home why we're all here and why we're doing what we do. This is Kathy doing a video chat with a couple of her student workers, Tu and Phi. They're a brother and sister from Vietnam who are student workers for her. They're on track to graduate this spring, both of them, but like a lot of our students who are still here on campus during this whole COVID-19 situation, this has really created havoc for their student worker jobs on campus. And Kathy's had to be really creative to find work and do projects for them. So while a lot of our students are able to go home, the students like Tu and Phi, who Kathy says are affectionately called 2 and 3, which is hilarious and makes me think about Star Trek and Picard's dog #1. She says that their parents are safe back in Vietnam and that we're doing our best to take care of them and help them finish their journeys here at BSU. So this is exactly why, as we move forward, I want us all to remember what our message is, that we're all in this together, that our students and employees will stay safe, healthy, and well, and that our students will finish their semesters. Just remember, we're all one Bemidji State, and we're all in this together. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking 30 minutes out of your morning to join me here for this show. So tune in next week, same Beaver time, same Beaver channel. Have a great Friday and an awesome weekend, everybody, and I will see you next week.
Have a good one today?
I killed the credits early.
Whatever.
That's all right.
It looks good. So,
My 10-year-old daughter approves, so I must be doing something right. All right, I think I stopped. No, I didn't stop recording.